individuals who are trying to exit hate, which is,
right.
I mean, the idea of somebody wanting to fund that work is
and
staggering.
most that don't want to exit hate, that are just referred by bystanders. So aside from the problems that they've identified, which are the same problems that I face, for me, I also have a problem of scalability because there are only a limited amount of formers, people who used to be extremists, who rebuilt their lives, who are in a position to be able to help other people. I've been doing the disengagement work probably for 12 years now, and I've helped over 100 people leave extremist groups, some who are people that we would have given up on a long time ago, who grew up in the family of hate, that it was just part of who they were, and they've left. I've worked with young 17-year-old people whose parents were terrified that they were going to be the next Dylann Roof. And I've worked globally. I've also worked with returned foreign fighters from Syria and Belgium. And it's really amazing that the transfer of what I do works in all different types of extremism, because really it is about dispelling that demonization that these people have and kind of filling in. But when I decided to do this work, and up until now, I've been funded to do my work by my speaking engagements. So while you, Dave, you kind of diverted it to another organization at first, every time I did a public talk, I would make sure it was in a city where I had an intervention to do, and that it would pay for my travel to get there. And I still do that to this day, although now I'm able to do other things as well. So funding is an issue, but scalability, I feel like I solved that issue because of my traveling. I met amazing organizations all over the world, from Mother's Group in Mali, who's helping young people not go into extremist cells, to former fighters in Lebanon who are stopping teens from joining the civil war there. And I suddenly realized that other people are doing this work. They may not be on the radar, but they exist all over the world. And now my goal has been to build the world's first disengagement portal that would function a little bit like AAA, I suppose, where somebody would call in saying, I want help getting out, or I know somebody who needs help, and then we would do the triage and then dispatch the local tow truck or the community group from that community to go and serve that person, because nobody really understands people better than the folks from their community. So I'm going to recruit both of you guys to join this network. But I'm in the process of building this with a university in the Southwest who has a psychology department. But one thing that's amazing about this opportunity too is it will allow us to measure the demographics of extremism across the world, because it would all come in through a singular entry point, and that doesn't exist now. So we'll be able to identify hotspots where people are being recruited. We'll be able to identify different types of extremism that people are asking for help with. And then we'll be able to share best practices with people all over the world on how to combat this issue, very much like the Strong Cities Network does, that you guys do, where it's taking mayors from cities all across the world to share these best practices and commit to kind of a concerted effort to tackle this problem. So that's how I scale myself. I can't clone DNA yet, but I can encourage other people doing this work to be part of this network that wouldn't necessarily mean that they would lose their identity as an organization, but they would just be an affiliate of kind of a feeder. And that's really what I'm focused on now. But I also believe that one of the massive obstacles that I face, in particular focused on the far right, is that there just is no discussion around domestic terrorism and far right extremism. At the government level, it's not a priority, or it doesn't appear to be a priority. The media doesn't seem to think it's necessarily a priority. And in fact, white supremacist extremists kill many more people in America than any other group. And yet we still don't even call it terrorism. So until it gets called terrorism, it just won't get the resources, it won't get the attention, it won't get the brain space, and it will be very, very difficult in an environment where that seems to be growing to combat it, where it kind of feels like we're underwater, overwhelmed all the time because the ball keeps rolling and we're continuing to just kind of feed ourselves off of our fat, if you will. So yeah, that's really kind of the biggest issue. But we're successful doing what we do, but we're playing against the odds, absolutely.